You're driving along.
Yeah, it's just recording here.
Yeah, just getting it
Yeah, just
rocking.
trying to check in and at least contribute and be involved here. 6
Yeah,
o'clock
man.
here on the East Coast, so I'm down here in Florida, so it's kind of rush hour traffic on the way home.
A little better way to spend your drive. Hopefully it makes it go fast for you.
Yeah, be a little
All right.
entertaining.
All right, so here we are. We get things rocking and rolling. This is the Monday nights Eden open mic sessions, and the purpose is to give anyone who's new to the community an opportunity to introduce themselves. Has to have the floor, if you will, to tell us a little bit about who they are and why they want to be a part of Eden. So there's a pathway for folks that don't already have an invite or don't already know an existing member, and then an opportunity after to just kind of have a bit of a open forum discussion, with the crew, with hopefully at least a handful or more of existing Eden members who might be able to answer questions and things, and then to just talk on any topics that anybody of interest. So for existing members, if they want the floor for a bit, that's cool too. It's kind of like what's the name of that park in London? I never remember, the one where you can like get up and just talk about anything and people gather around.
Not sure.
It's famous, right? It's a place where you just go and shout political stuff or whatever. So but kind of like that, if you just want the Hyde Park, there we go. Thank you. Yeah, so it's our own virtual Hyde Park, if you will, for existing members who just want to bring up a topic for discussion or maybe say their piece on something. So that was kind of the design. You want to add anything, Chris?
No, I'm glad we've got a resident Brit on the phone who knew the answer to the park. Way to go, Mel. Can spot that accent a mile away.
Yeah, you can.
Nice. So anyway, I don't know if we have anybody on tonight. Well, it's tonight for me. I'm on the East Coast as well, US. But is there anybody who is not an Eden member and wanted a chance to have the floor for a bit? We'd like to start with those people.
I'd be one of those.
All right. Hey, Rick. All right. Well, it's all yours. Take it away.
I don't know exactly. I guess I didn't get a chance to see one of the earlier. There's been one other of these open mics. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And I didn't run across it on YouTube or anything. I was, that's the one thing so far for me that's been a struggle is we've got all of these different places that we've got things. We got the forum and and all of them, and not only that, that's on as far as EOS goes, or Eden EOS as goes, but all of the other crypto things that I'm trying to stay on top of.
Mm-hmm.
We'll try to make it easier for you. We're going to put up a channel and try to consolidate these. So this week we'll get that sorted so you can see the last one too.
Yeah, that'd be great. That was one of the things that I just happened to come on to Eden on EOS when you first started it in Telegram, and I saw that and I thought, okay, is this somebody that's legit or is this a scam thing? And
I
remember when
it's just 10 EOS. It's only 10 EOS. Don't worry.
Well, no.
I'm getting rich.
There was no money involved at that time. It was just, I don't know. I've come across people that I came across a guy that lost over 2,500, almost, well, actually 5,000 Steam it when Steam was worth money.
Sure.
At one time, and he was scammed, but I know Telegram is notorious for that type of things, and so I sort of questioned you, Dominic, about that, some things initially, because it was right when you initially started, and you had like the Google
the forum
the form to fill out and stuff, and you know, and the only thing that flagged me that really made me question was there was just like, you know, one of the things I'll look for scammers sort of is, you know, potential for misspellings of words or things like that. And so when you asked, you know, and I hope you can take offense for that I was, you know, questioning, you asked, you know, like, why do you think it, you know, and hey, there's only just a few of us starting this out, you know, and I understand that. So, but anyhow, I've been following EOS from the Steemit days. That's probably when my first exposure. That was my first exposure to Dan and EOS as well. And I really thought I happened to hit it. I think I hit it, Steem at least, or Steemit at the time. I hit it probably at the peak of its of the monetary value associated with it. And so my first posts, I really, I just like that, I don't know, $15, $16, something like that. I just was totally freaked out. Oh my gosh, you can actually write on something, you know. But I saw the potential for people to be able to do some things. You know, it could be. I just thought it was groundbreaking things, the ability to. But that was Steemit, you know. That was, you know, and then I wasn't that computer literate to be able to get in on the EOS initial buy-in things. You know, I didn't have the ability. I didn't figure out how to do a VPN and all that stuff to be a Genesis member. So I ended up having to buy it aftermarket and such like that. But anyhow, back to Eden EOS, I did finally get around to finishing Dan's book. There's my dog. I knew he was going to bark in the background eventually. You know, if Mark, I can't remember, Mark, can't remember. Goes Earth guy,
Earthman, Mark Shear.
Earthman,
Yeah.
there you go. Gosh, I know him. My wife and I, we, you know, did some discussing and stuff on Voice when Voice was going, and you know, so anyhow, but so anyhow, as a prospective member of Eden EOS or looking for an invite, I did post on the forum there, and come from a little L libertarian background, very much firm believer in the non-aggression principle, and I also, I don't know whether anybody here has had the opportunity to look at some of Paul Rosenberg's website, Free Man's Perspective. And he's an individual that was involved with the original, way back pre-Bitcoin days, on some of the e-gold type things. I don't know if anybody is familiar with any of that, but there was an attempt to get started on something along that lines that never really went to fruition. But one of the things that Paul talks about, and I know Dan has mentioned it as well, is you know, maybe what we need to really be doing is looking at a parallel society from the standpoint, you know, working out to build something alongside of, instead of trying to overtake or, you know, basically, you know, I don't know if you can see, but I got my Ron Paul Revolution t-shirt. That's when I originally got involved in politics back in his first run. I live in Iowa, so we were fortunate to actually be at his initial. It was in a small Country 8 or Country Inn hotel meeting room that he had about 100 people that showed up for his initial foray into Iowa. And anyhow, that's me. Any questions or anything, or do
yeah, I was just gonna say, Eden obviously is about transcendence of politics. It doesn't really matter what our political leanings are coming in, but like, what are your, what are some of your thoughts on the kind of the political playoffs and everything that goes into the way we're doing elections? I don't know. Did you get a chance to participate in the first one?
I did.
I thought you were. Yeah,
I was in on the first one.
Thought you were. What was the experience for you there?
For me, it was nice. I was actually surprised. I really was intended. I mean, I actually signed on with more of an idea of a warm body, or wanted to get numbers, because we want to have at least quite a few.
I appreciate that, because we barely made it.
So I really wasn't prepared to support a project, or I have no programming skills. It's something that I'm trying to learn, but I really wasn't prepared to try and continue on to the next stage. And so as a result of that, there was myself, the EOS Authority guy from Detroit, Zach Gall, and a guy from Germany. Rather than trying to, I got to talk to Zach a little bit. He questioned me about, what would I do with the funds and stuff like that. And he says, well, at this stage, I don't have any projects that I would go towards to help fund, as much as it would be educational, I guess, education, anything that we can do to get word out, whether that, even at this point, whether that would mean setting up even local meetups, and potentially promoting Dan's book, because that's got to be a starting point. There are people out there that can read that will go, hey, I'm on board with this. Anyhow, excuse me. In the interest of moving the voting along, I basically just bowed out. I mean, I initially said that I was going to, be a participant, but then I thought, one of these other three people would have something better than I would have to offer. So it worked in a way. I don't know if I would have, since I bowed out, I automatically disqualified myself from the voting. And so I don't know whether I would have been able to continue on, but it would have been, looking back in hindsight, I probably would have, at least went for a vote type of situation instead of bowing out like I did.
Right.
But, it really, and that's the other thing, and I know we need the numbers as far as more of an idea to see how much of a response we're going to get and how it's going to work. With 4 people in a group, you have, this hour of time to spend. If we have 10 people in that group, well, that's going to be another little more of a different thing. So,
well, yeah, we've already changed that though. So I think that's some of the stuff that is going to be coming, putting together a little bit of an announcement around some of the things that we've already learned. I don't think 4 is going to be the max. I think we're thinking like we could handle 5, maybe 6, but definitely it's narrowed now. We're just thinking 4 to 6 range. And then one of the other things that we're going to change this go around is everybody's going to declare whether they want to run or not prior to the first round. And then we're going to randomize, but average out those people. So let's say there's 100 people in this one and 20 people want to run technically. we'll make sure there's 2 in a group, right? Because
Right,
the concern's been with the truly randomized process, we could have a group of 5 people who all want to run and then have a group with none, so
right,
we're going
right.
to do that and see how that works. And then we'll randomize everybody else thereafter, so that we have an even distribution of candidates essentially, but still randomized, so those are 2 of the changes in a sense, although, it won't be a change because the group size, will just stay small, which it just happened to do that in the first election, but maybe there was some serendipity there, because I think if we had ever started, looking back now, had we tried to do any election practice or otherwise with 10 people in a room, I think the overwhelming feedback would have been, I didn't have time. I didn't know.
Yeah.
So-and-so talked for 10 minutes and then nobody else said
Right.
anything, so.
Yeah. No, I actually, I was really, I believe it really went well. And hats off to you for that. And the others that were involved in the behind the scenes as far as getting it together, because, it could have descended into chaos.
Well, that's hats off to everyone, right? Too, because it could have been you guys. I think one of the things we're also seeing at work so far, and hopefully ongoing, is that having a bit of a selection process in terms of membership. Now, we didn't for that practice election on purpose. We wanted to let anybody experience it, but clearly, let's put it this way. I haven't heard of anybody who participated in that election who's put themselves forward to try to become a member who's been sort of told no. It was all, for the most part, we'll say, Eden members or potential Eden members. But, having said that, weeding out trolls and people like that who are just going to try to torpedo the process. That's important, because there's nothing we can do. It's going to be no perfect process to guard against that. We can only really do it on the front end. And this is kind of like maybe our only, but certainly our best line of defense for that. So,
yeah. And that's only going to get that the trolling and whatever is only going to get worse as, it gains in popularity.
Or certainly people, right. The desire to, or the desirability of trolling it. Yeah. So, well, that's good. Well,
How many members have we got at the moment? Do you know how many members we've got in total?
I haven't looked at it. It's right on there. Let me see. 71.
It'd be the 80 by the end of the next couple of days, because it's 71 and 9 at least I took part in today alone. So
those aren't showing then yet.
No, I didn't enter. I got a 5. I still have to enter. I just did the videos today, so they're all wrapped up, and then I'll do the.
Yeah,
you keep me busy, Chris. You keep me busy.
Making friends, right? So I got to invite people.
Yeah,
no, that's good. That's good. I've invited a few people, but as of yet, no one's bit the bullet.
Well, I think that's the other thing that that we're working on right now is we know that there needs to be, to Rick's point at the beginning, consistent delivery of information and consistent places where that happens that everybody knows to look, so it doesn't feel as random. But then more basically collateral, if you will, right, for all of us to kind of sell this thing in a sense, because it's a bit of a sales process to some degree, right? Here's what it is. I'd like you to be a part of it. I think you'd be a good candidate. So we're really working to fill those things out more, make sure there's a lot of information. And that's part of what Chris and I came up with, because I'm just trying to ultimately drive a lot more people to this next election, because we need it. We won't know what it's like to run this with a lot of people until we do it. And we really don't want to do that when there's potentially going to be a lot of money on the line, right? That's not a time where you want to, I don't think we can afford a mistake there. Let's put it that way, right? If we are able to eventually get the block producers or Block One or anybody to put sizable stake into this, the last thing we want to do is botch the distribution of those funds, which is really what these elections are about. And so I'm really trying to get at least 200, hopefully 300 people to participate in this next one. But at the same time, I thought, well, what's the best way to do that? Drive membership, right? ideally we'll have 250, 300 Eden members. And then that way I would hope most people will do it, because one of the things that Dan's been mentioning, and we're going to need to, I think, document a little better as a bylaw, is if you miss 2 elections, you're out. Because frankly, that's the whole point. And that's really your only true. So I had somebody say, well, I can't be an Eden member right now. I don't have time for all that. And this person was kind of looking at like what I'm doing. And I'm going, no. Like I'm just, I'm involved in the kind of back end getting this started deal. I said, but your only true job, or if you will, or responsibility as an Eden member is attending elections. And they're designed so that you really don't have to do anything else. You don't have to study beforehand. You're going to get a randomized group of people, and it's going to be all about kind of what you see in here in that moment. It's designed to be easy to participate in. So, but we don't have that out there enough, right? Talking about these things. And then also within our own community, making sure that all the existing members right now have a source of truth completely. So, that's some of the stuff we're working on.
There's obviously a number that we're trying to target is to get to 10,000 eventually.
Right.
But is there a minimum that we need to run the elections?
Well, 1,000 was the first number that was thrown out in early conversations with Dan, and something that I think I'm almost positive he at least mentioned something about that number to the block producers in the early meeting he had a few months ago with them, because the reality is we kind of have to prove that this matters. And a couple hundred people gathering in an EOS community isn't much at this stage, right? There's plenty of those. Why would anybody want to put a substantial amount of money into a small group? Because who knows, maybe we are the minority, right? Maybe people don't really think things need to change, or et cetera, think they need to be done differently.
They probably do want to, but there's probably a lot that don't want to put the time and effort in, maybe because they've got other commitments, etc. But
well, that's what we have to talk about, right? Though, because this isn't much of a commitment. I think the more we can help people understand that, because one of the things I keep hearing from people is like, well, I don't know what I would do with the money. I'm like, you don't need to. Everybody doesn't run for election. Being just a damn good voter is good. That's very valuable in this community. You're like, I was trying to explain it to somebody, and I was saying, and I don't know if this helped or not, but I was like, think about yourself as a voter, as a node, and you have the consensus algorithm, which is your vote. You are the consensus algorithm, the people who actually vote, not the people who win. The people who win are like the mind blocks that come out of the consensus, right? Those are the blocks, but we need the block producers, we need the nodes, we need the miners. And that's what excited me about this. Was being a voter in some ways is more important than being a representative. I think in this system, that's what it does. It's so empowering if you can take a step back and go, wow, really, like, it's instant democracy right there. You're in that group. You put forth your discussion, your points, your arguments, your questions, whatever they are, and you decide instantly, and bam, at the end of round one, given the budgets that we were talking about before, say, for example, if we were to get the 50% of the RAM fees, that would be a $50,000 budget allocated to that person right there. Done. It's not going to happen. They don't have to keep winning. That's a done deal. I don't know. That's pretty powerful to me. I don't know too many other democratic voting, whatever you want to call it, situations where individual voters have that kind of input and into an outcome that's so quick and instant.
I think it will get better as time goes on. So after the first election and the money which gets then elected, put into different projects, once people realise, once it actually is a tangible thing and people are actually receiving that funding, and then other people hear of that, then there's a lot more people want to come on board thinking, I want a piece of that pie.
Right.
But it's the initial one. I think it's because it's all new, isn't it?
Sure. But that's the thing too. Someone mentioned, maybe this is actually good right now that we don't have the promise of big funding, because we know inevitably that will draw certain types too, right? And probably not for the right reasons. It's going to draw some people in who are going to say, oh my God, are you kidding me? All I have to do is talk 5 of these idiots into electing me in the first round and I get 50 grand. I'm like, hell yeah, easiest scamming, I've ever done. Right. But
Yeah.
that's also why, I mean, can we be perfect in this initial process? No, because it's like anything. I mean, if we get so picky and so say paranoid about membership and invites at this level, no one's going to get in. And that's not the point. I mean, we're just self-defeating. And no one's ever wanted this to be exclusive. That's something we've heard that a lot of us are working on now. That, again, why these things are here is this is not an insiders club. It's not supposed to be about who you know. It's supposed to be about who you are. It's supposed to be about what you believe in terms of, do you want to do this? Are you willing to accept the kind of core concept and bylaws in the peace treaty and be a part of the movement? Those are your qualifications, not what's your status, not how well known you are, not how established your network is. But then we need to create those user journeys though, right? How does that person get engaged? And this is one of those avenues. So, and hopefully there'll be more.
Hey, Dom, just to clarify a comment you made, it's if you miss 2 consecutive elections, not just 2 in total. Is that right?
I think I know at the minimum it's 2 in a year, right? So
No. If you miss and so you lose your membership. So say there's 3 elections in a year, but you miss 1. Is
just
it
2 total? It would just be 2 total.
Not consecutive. So you have to miss 2 total and you're gone.
You're gone. Because think about it. If you're not there, you're pointless. You have to make the elections.
Life
you have
happens.
To. Well,
and if it's only a month's notice and I'm gone. Anyway,
you got to make a priority.
There'd be a bylaw. This would be a bylaw thing. So certainly I think all this stuff, I know Dan's going to set the bylaws for the first year, but after that, I think if the community thinks it's too hard, 2 consecutive seems more reasonable because then you're back to back bailing. But if you miss one for whatever reason, you make the next one, but then you miss another one, or you miss one 5 years later. Like what's the duration of if it's just 2?
No, my
total?
understanding is that it's annual. Is that it's just in a year? Because the point being is that there's likely to only be 2 a year when this matures. So if you miss both, what the fuck?
That makes sense.
You just got to say, like, come on. I mean, might this be softened? If in the early stages we're having an election every month, which I don't think we're going to, by the way, that's already been addressed as well, that we're not automatically going to have an election just because we grow 10%. And I think people got that wrong a little bit too. And I've asked for more clarification, but my understanding of that rule was always, if the community expands 10%, you're allowed to call for an election if you want to, but that has to be like a community vote to then say, yeah, we think we're due for an election. We've expanded X amount. It's almost like the 10% expansion allows for this referendum to call an election, but it's not an automatic election. But I'm asking Dan to, get on some of that stuff too. And so we're gonna try to get a lot of that information out, as soon as possible. That seems to be the internal priority right now, from what I'm hearing from Mike and those guys.
Okay, I think looks like I don't recognize Elias. Elias is, are you new?
Oh, one second, let me clear,
in?
Chris, let me just clarify too, because someone said that. It's not a kick out. We should make that. It's that you go dormant, and you're just there's going to be a process whereby you're going to basically need to kind of get reinducted again. In a sense, like find a couple members that you're going to need to talk to and explain basically why'd you miss them. And if those members feel, it makes sense, then I think they can kind of reinduct you. So there will be a process. It's not a kick. It's not like a permanent ban. Your membership kind of goes dormant.
You're not going to have to pay another 10 EOS.
We have to put up EOS again?
Would they have to pay another 10 EOS, do you think?
I don't know. I don't think that was discussed. I don't recall.
There'd be probably a lot of nuance to these. This is where the bylaws, I mean, they can get really deep and complex. The peace treaty, very basic. Right. All this little stuff, it could be pages long by the time we think of all the edge cases.
Oh, and there was a question there too. I don't think it's automatically going to be the 10 EOS per election. There's definitely going to be something per election, like that you put in, like a registration fee. And we're starting to say kind of condition that behavior and test that somewhat, in that this test election requires at least a 1 EOS donation to participate. But that goes straight into the pool too. So understand it's a direct donation to the cause you're in, right? It's not like we're suddenly, I don't know, getting these taxes for some organization or something. It's just your contribution to the pool for that particular election. So that's where that money goes, so to speak.
Depending on the value of the EOS token at the time, I guess. If it's worth $1,000, we might have to change it a little bit.
Well, of course, yeah. And that's where the bylaws process comes in, and you know.
All right, let's bring us back to the open mic here, and I think I'd like to get Elias, if you don't mind saying hello. I don't recognize your face, so I'd like to meet you.
All right. I recognize you, Chris. I've seen you around. You're pretty popular. I've seen John Boyd, Dave Packham I've met when he was at EOS Detroit. So I'm kind of long-time lurker, I think that's what they call us. I've been around since the beginning. I do want to introduce myself to get into Eden. I'm not part of Eden. So I've kind of looked around to try to get an idea of how to do that. And I did find some websites, and I did see the EOS forum. There's a forum to introduce yourself, so I've been meaning to do it there. But I'll do it here.
Yeah, do the forum too, though, because that would be, and then people can find you more easily too, right? This is great too. Keep going, but also I'd encourage you to also put something up on the forum.
Officially there. Okay, we'll do that. I'll just go super quick. Wrote some notes here. I'm in Southeast Michigan. I'm a developer for insurance software company. The foreign username is Eli, or Elias AK on Telegram. Got into crypto, Bitcoin, Ripple, left that, Steemit, which just opened the world, with just, a different application other than currency. It just, kind of showed me like, oh, what can crypto do? And of course, Dan, his writing, loved his book list and all that stuff. So I started following him, and then EOS, I think the same hole that a lot of us went through. And then, this has been part of EOS strictly since the beginning, since the last, 3 years now? 3 long years. And, just following that and here and there, kind of was active, was attending the EOS Detroit meetups a few times until Corona hit a year and a half ago. I'll kind of put more stuff about what I want to do with, or why I want to join Eden. I think is that the thing that's needed for EOS. Generally needed, but EOS is a great place for it to start. I do want to, and it's kind of ideas, I've been around for, just watching the EOS and contributing here and there, Telegram, right, mostly. And I did come up with this website called eosvoters.com. And I was trying to, back when we were arguing about the arbitration forum, I was trying to kind of come up with the pros and cons for the arbitration forum. I was, that was a big debate. So I was trying to simplify it, or at least make things clearer to understand. And I think that's still what I want to do if I get into Eden. Just kind of because EOS has so many smart people, but some of the ideas that we kick around are just way up there, way ahead. I don't think people understand inflation. Why is that? The pros and cons of inflation. Just bringing those ideas to making them more, easier, smaller bites. So I do want to do that and also kind of bring more of the ideas down to, easier to digest. So I will create a better introduction or a more, sophisticated introduction on the forums.
That's great, man. No, you did excellent. Don't even worry. So eosvoters.com, that's your website right now that you're running. I'm just open it up here.
Yep, you'll see me on, or I don't have a picture of it yet. Some of the, I actually took down some of the writings I did. They're kind of, the arbitration forum stuff, of course, passed. So that's not up there, but there are some other things I hope to do with the website this year.
So just curious, you probably have your thumb or finger on the pulse of just the whole voting, proxies, that whole world. Any general thoughts on vote trading and the BP selection? There's just some discussion going on the EOS governance Telegram channel about how do we leverage Eden in maybe creating a voter proxy that could maybe aggregate some of the community votes to then maybe influence the BP selection. If we could get enough people, enough of the community, and there's enough token weight there, we could actually maybe shift things a bit. Any thoughts on that?
Oh, so I've been slightly out of it for the last 6 months. I do know that, the big one is B1. What are they going to do with their votes, proxy? The last thing I mentioned on one of the groups was if B1 decides to donate their, what are we calling the vote kickbacks? The staking rewards to people in their proxy, they would instantly become the biggest proxy. So no thoughts about what to do, but of course B1 is what we're watching, I'm sure, and seeing what they do. So no thoughts about it though, about what you said, Chris, at this point.
Think it's a good idea? Should we try an Eden proxy?
I guess we got to get the team together and build. Obviously, we're not big enough yet, are we? So, but would be good to have an Eden proxy, that is, I think that is quite important with the current situation with the BPs. So I'm up for that.
If do you guys have any thoughts about? So that one thing that I did keep looking at was the request for funding. And it does seem, I think Dan asked for a lot of funding, which kind of scared me, like, whoa, if Eden gets so much funding, it's going to be just the influx of people that are not committed. It's going to
Well,
so I don't
is
know
that true though? That's only if we don't do our own due diligence though, right? As members. And that's my pointing to my question earlier, that I think we're not emphasizing enough, and it's tricky, right? We don't want to talk about it in a way that sounds, again, exclusive, keeping, trying to keep people out or elitist or anything like that, but to educate everybody on the value of the initial due diligence, right? That's a big part of it, and it's kind of, to me, one of the biggest variables to the success of the project that I've spoken with people about a lot from the beginning, which is if you understand cultures, right, and how cultures form in organizations, this is common if you've ever been in a leadership management position. The initial group of employees, the initial group of members, right, they set the culture typically. And it's very difficult to transform a culture fundamentally, right? That gets very hard. Once you get especially to something around even 300-400 members, a culture is going to be in place, and it can be changed, but it'll be hard work and consistent work to do so. And I agree with you. That's, and I mean, the bigger the amount of money, the more eyes. But I really think any sizable amount. Heck, I felt that just the election where Chris, was named. Had Chris turned out to be someone who just ran with that money, it would have been hard to even recover from that, in my mind, because that's the biggest question people have right now is there's not a lot of trust in the world, right? And the idea that process or otherwise, whether people love the process and the way it goes or not, I think it's hard for people to get out of their head the idea of, wow, all they have to do is convince, X number of people in a room that's been randomized and they can run away with our money, right? It's what it sounds like is possible.
It's interesting. With a lot of money, people would probably be more careful onboarding. If there were amount of money that seemed negligible to some, maybe you wouldn't be as careful with the onboarding process. And like you said, you don't want to be exclusive, elitist, whatever negative term you want to throw at that, but you want to be careful and set that culture. It's careful balance, man.
Do you think the multi-sig idea, what Chris was talking about previously, with your obviously the money you received, the amount that you received, you could use the multi-sig situation so that you're actually doing what you said you was going to do, rather than just having full sort of the full option to just go and do whatever you want to do with the money.
Right, like drag it out and just send it to an exchange. So I do know I sat in on a meeting with a couple of the Clarion devs who basically, Dan's Clarion team that he's been funding. They're the ones who built the membership registration portal and are continuing to build the infrastructure for us, the Eden OS, if you will, right? The software, the operating system. And there's already a pretty kind of a cool accounting system that's being built into this first version even. And there's a couple of things that I think are likely going to be in the bylaws to try to protect a little. Again, it's going to be hard because the other thing you don't want is censorship, right? We don't want there to be a certain group that might just decide they don't like somebody's transactions because they're spending it on something they don't like, right? So it has to be that's another fine line as to if you're going to shut somebody's account down, right, which would be what you'd try to do if you thought they were scamming. But I think some of the stuff is like, you're not going to be able to move all your EOS at once, for example. You'd have to do it over a period of time. And even if that is that, like, again, let's say it was 10,000 EOS and I was going to put it all into a single project because I thought that was the best use of the money. I can't just send them the 10,000 EOS all at once. No. But frankly, you probably shouldn't do that either, because that's not good management yourself, right? Yeah. You send a certain amount and you make a deal, some type of tranches probably. So they're working on other systems, but I just keep trying to describe it as if we can all think of ourselves at this level as part of the antivirus. We're little antivirus agents. And when you're thinking about bringing somebody on board, think in terms of that. And that's where the whole, like, having some kind of a relationship, right? Would a really talented sociopath make it through? Probably. But the system's also built to withstand that, and we might have some misses in that way, but we have a way to remove those people. And, I'm sure we'll all be a little bit wiser for it.
They'll only do it the once, hopefully.
Right. And then think of it this way. I mean, in my mind, if I look at the United States government right now and the Congress people, I see like 95% scammers, frankly, and they're spending trillions. I mean, that's not a joke to say that. I mean, it's pretty legitimate. I mean, they've failed us, Republican or Democrat or otherwise. I don't even get into that shit. I think that's like divide and conquer crap. But just putting the politics aside, what's the ROI for the average American citizen for the government's general, behavior in the last 40, 50 years? It's pretty slim, so that's something to think about, right? This isn't supposed to be perfect.
It's not just America, is it? It's pretty much everywhere.
I
isn't
don't
it?
think so. Yeah. I mean, you could tell us more, but the people I know that are from Europe aren't exactly pleased with what they're getting for their money.
No.
And it is your money, right? It's your damn money directly.
Exactly.
So, you know, but we'll have more scrutiny than we probably deserve. And we have to be ready for that. I have to just try to do our measure best.
One of the things, one of the
go
things
ahead.
I'm most interested in for scrutiny, I'm a member looking to onboard people, excited to grow the community. And one of the things I'm most curious about are people's ideas, thoughts, impressions around More Equal Animals. Like, to me, that's the principles in More Equal Animals is the measuring stick for me personally. Because if I don't know them personally now, what I really want to know is kind of getting a window into their soul on those principles. Because it seems like if we can agree there, we can agree on a lot.
Well, and I think, you know, you touched on something there too that's important, which is that why do people scam? Well, by nature, they tend to be lazy, right? They're looking for a shortcut. Because if they were the type of people who would go through this incredibly thorough ruse, they would just start a goddamn business, you know, or do something and make legit money if they wanted to put all the energy into some really elaborate, you know, long game con, right? So, you know, if you've read the book and you talk to somebody and they clearly haven't, just tell them to go read the book. Like I had one of those recently where we just said, listen, no big deal. We're going to put everything on ice. Go read the book, please. And we'll meet again and, you know, or call us, you know, reach out to us when you've read it and we'll come back because again, probably not a lot of scammers are going to bother reading the book. Certainly not the easy crooks. So I think you touched on something great there, Spencer.
Something interesting about this idea of scamming. I always think of my youth and even my kids, right? And it's like my grandpa had this thing about if you leave the lid off the cookie jar and someone walks past it, can you really blame them for sticking their hand in and grabbing a cookie? Right? So is it just the thieves and the, you know, disingenuous folks that'll take that nice warm smelling cookie that someone left the lid off right in front of your face? And I mean, who wouldn't stick their hand in necessarily, right? So it's like this doesn't mean you're a bad person just because you might take advantage of something that seems so easy. Why not? And that's what I find this process. It's not that easy. Like you do have to work. Like you say, Dom, you really gotta be deliberately trying to scam your way into this. It's not just like, I'll just do something for 10 seconds and now I've got to work. You got to work at it and think about it and then con people essentially, because you've got to deal with a 50-minute deliberation to lie essentially, right?
Yeah.
So, no cookie jars
I don't
here.
think it's going to be easy. I don't think it's as easy as it sounds. And I don't think we give ourselves enough credit that if we can practice a little mindfulness, you know, when somebody's full of shit, you just will. It's that God, they'd have to be so good. And supposedly there's certain people who can pass lie detectors and all that crap. But again, I don't think we need to worry about the Hannibal Lecters, right? Like there's nothing we can do about someone like that. You know, they're such insane outliers. If some evil genius sociopath, you know, breaks the Eden thing, I mean, really, the story is, so what? I mean, what does that say about us? This was an incredible adversary, you know, like I don't think, I don't know.
They'll only do it once anyway.
Probably.
I mean, once someone says they're going to do something and then they don't do it, as long as the community, like us, like this could be part of like, certainly I will focus on this and is hold people to account, watch the videos, write down what they said they do. And then if they didn't do it, make sure you tell everybody, hey, by the way, if you end up in this guy's random room, or you can petition to get him kicked if it's that flagrant, but at a minimum, their reputational score should be damaged by the fact they didn't do what they say they were going to do. And as long as everyone else is aware of that and they see them, oh, I heard about you, you didn't do what you're, look, I found the post because it's easy to find where it's all explained about the lies. You're not gonna get in. You're not gonna win the next round. Like that'll be the end of your career in Eden.
Yeah, I think people are underestimating how powerful some of these systems are going to be. And if anything, I don't know, you're going to have to be careful sometimes that just as a human, be mindful that you didn't change your mind and kind of forget to tell everybody, right? Because as you're saying, Chris, it's all going to be out there and they're not going to be airtight right away necessarily, but they will be. you know, like the message boards where you know, there's a blockchain timestamp of the information so that you can't change it, right? Like that's where some of the higher level Clarion stuff starts to get involved. But
That'll be cool.
you know, there's going to be nowhere to hide eventually. Like it is all going to be documented, and you know.
Todd, you've been driving for a while. We want to catch you before you get home.
Oh, it was good. We had.
Do you want to anything to add? You want to jump in?
We can have a league table with all the members that have not attended, or they're not doing what they should be doing, and we're getting sort of negative feedback and positive feedback, so I can see on a league table, or is it all? I don't know how it's going to work.
Go ahead, Todd. Jump in there. You unmuted yourself while you're driving. That was dangerous.
Could you hear?
Just a quick workshop. I'm just enjoying everybody's conversation here. And this is a great initiative for everybody, sort of, you know, get to know each other. You know, the closest we can get to face right now, even if it is sort of driving. That's all right.
Cool.
Well, yeah, and this is part of it too. Like as we all get to know each other more and more, it becomes, you know, you know, you just become less and less likely to want to screw a system where you have relationships, right? You just naturally want to be more protective of these folks that you've, you know, spent time with online or otherwise. I know it's a video conference or whatever, but still, it's, you know, you can still build serious relationships. I know I have, and everybody I know who's been around the EOS world, this is how we all networked for the most part. I mean, we did meet up, which was great, and those were very reinforcing. I mean, I did some of the hackathons and the London meetup and stuff like that, but by and large, built relationships and had people work for me for 2 years that I'd never met in person, and it was great, you know, and I'd hire them again today. So, you know, we're going to need to continue to kind of build our own internal rapport too, I think, you know, which will help.
Yeah.
This is how community gets born and trust gets built with you know, among people. You kind of see how everybody collaborates together, and this is how ideas get sparked off. Just some random tangent that we might go on, like, oh yeah, look at there, that's a great idea. You know, who knows how these things, you know, these communications can evolve things.
Yeah, definitely. And anybody who's on the call but your camera's off, like you can ideally you turn your camera on so we can see you if you want to jump in and introduce yourself and talk. But if you're shy for now, just put your hand up in the chat and we'll at least kind of call you out so you can say something. Don't be shy. Mr. Randall was inducted today. It's not official. I still have to go through, but we did the video. How'd you find that, Randall? Did it go okay?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I was very happy about that, actually. And I was very nervous, though, because this is very big. And I feel like, you know, Eden is going to make a lot of changes, especially for EOS. So I was very happy about that. And maybe it will allow us to possibly, you know, gather all the right tools. You know, developers can now be able to reach out to members, and we can have marketers reaching out to members, and we can be able to build a website where I'm thinking about possibly a freelancing type of website where we can have blockchain developers, we can have marketers, and then anyone that has like community funds can pretty much just hop onto it and pick a group of guys, and
right,
we can be able to do something special. And more importantly, we can build in like milestones in that freelancing type of web application, which allow a smart contract to release the money when we are reaching milestones, and people can be able to see it. And I think it's going to be a beautiful thing, honestly. It's just that we have to get together first, and then we are going to do wonderful things, you know. So I'm very excited about that. So I'm looking forward to helping as much as I can. Yeah.
I think you
How do
touched
we,
on. Go ahead, Mel.
a question for, so how do we stop duplication of obviously projects going and there's been multiple of the same thing happening, or there may be existing tools already out there that we do not really need to develop? Can we prevent that happening?
Yeah, well, the tools that I've seen that they're planning for even the first version of, say, the full member account, all of that will be transparent. You know, every dollar that everybody's spending and where it's gone and why, all is going to need to be tracked. So if you get elected as a rep, in order to send money, they're setting it up where you've got to fill out certain fields, not just the EOS address, but you've got to field, you know, who is it, why, you know. There's another thing that's going in that if you want to send money to anyone outside of the Eden community, there's going to be a tax designed to, again, you should be supporting your fellow Eden members.
That's a good idea.
And their projects, because that's part of what this is. It's also a network, right? And you know, we should be supporting one another because this is about kind of perpetuating a certain system, right, that we all believe in. So
it's like when you got workers in the UK or in America, you want to give the work to the workers in that country rather than. So I totally get.
Well, we got to kind of take care of ourselves first mentality, right?
Exactly,
you know, it's
no, okay, that's good.
You know, so I like that, and I think that also is a positive side effect that a lot of people mentioned from the first election already, is that they met a bunch of people, you know, that they felt like they added good people to their professional network, you know, that they were introduced in a way that was, you know, really, really valuable. And so I think that's cool, you know, to what Randall mentioned, right, is that he felt there was a sense of accomplishment in becoming a member. And I think that's important. And I hope it continues to feel that way. It felt that way for me, you know. It should be somewhat of an honor, because I think that adds value to it.
Now, I have one more thing to say to what Mel is asking. I think for Mel, to me, I think the whole point of this system is that we want to develop so many different things. We don't want one system to be a system that controls everything. So let's say if we have like a system built like Amazon, we want to have like 3 or 4 or 5 of them. It doesn't matter. You don't need one, because you want it to be like a fractal, right? Randomness, but each system can be able to hold its own. So when there's a problem, we don't have to depend on one system, right? So you can have let's say a system like, I know you love microloans, right? In Venezuela, right? So you can have a system like that, but you can also have that same system running parallel. So let's say if there is a problem here, or there is a hiccup, we can still hop onto something else, right? And I use what happened in Texas as an example. So in Texas, we had a freeze. So basically, our grid was down, our system was down, but we didn't have too many systems so that we can just jump into another grid. So we had to basically stay in the dark for some time. So if we want to be independent, we want to build systems where you can rely on different things until, let's say, whatever the problem that we are facing is fixed, and then you jump onto another thing. So, you know, somebody can have the same idea, but we can all continue to build and continue to utilize what we have, I think.
Fair enough, thank you.
Yep. I think a lot of things will get built. And if there's some redundancy, not the end of the world.
Oh, and there probably will be. Again, so that's a way in which,
See, Spencer?
like, the wisdom of the crowd works, right? Like, someone might specifically want to fund that. So, you know, there's this thing, and whatever it is, process, product, service, that's, you know, fundamental to the community and or the community's goals, and it's working great, but there's only one. What's the backup? You know, I want to fund a sort of a backup plan or a you know, alternate competitor potentially. And might not feel good if you're the person who's running the existing successful service, but that's where the values come in and those kind of things. And, we'll see what kind of community we have in some of those moments, because, managing self-interest can be hard at times.
And
versus the interest of everyone, right?
That it begs that's an interesting point, self-interest versus everyone's interest in terms of projects that do get through Eden. Because so if it's a pet project and it's your own and it maybe has like a business side where you're actually looking to generate revenue, okay, that makes sense to keep that more to yourself and your little group to run through Eden and try to get funding. But if it's like a social good or a community good, a project that anybody could potentially build, it's just your idea, then why not put it on the forum and explain what it is? Because then you're going to get a lot of people like Rick, for example, who may not he's not a developer, he's not building anything, but he's surely going to be looking for things to maybe represent. You could be more than just a voter by just taking someone else's idea. It's like, I read this, and as long as if the idea is presented in such, like, for example, I want to put forth an idea of building an Eden proxy. I don't know how that's going to look. I've got some suggestions. There's some people who have other suggestions. But if those ideas go up on a forum and people read that and be like, yeah, we need an Eden proxy. So Rick, you could run under the Eden proxy idea, even though it's not yours. It doesn't matter. It becomes yours.
Doesn't matter, right.
It's a general good. So multiple people can run.
We check out Randall's website. That's where they all are. Randall's got all the tasks and projects, and all the people in a bid for them can go directly to that website when he's built it.
Oh yeah, right.
Nice.
Well, I know Mark Shear, Earthman, there has put together a list of projects that have been suggested either on the forum. A lot of them are following that one post I put up from a month ago, but other ideas he's seen come in. And I don't know where he's posted that list, but I know Joshua was messaging me about it, and we're going to try to put it up. Yeah, there you go. He just put it in the link. Exactly. So that's an open list for everybody to look at and add to it. I mean, the more there, the better. And if you're looking for something to represent in the next election or, in the real elections, hopefully there's something like this that's a one-stop shop that you can go and say, yeah, that's a wicked idea. It doesn't matter as long as the idea is presented in such a way that you don't need to know how to actually execute it. It's kind of there. Or you hope that you end up with someone else who's doing the same project, and then you can give your vote to them if they are more in a better position to actually execute on what it is. But it shouldn't be all this proprietary ideas. I think people that's a great idea, and if it's great, then more than one person will likely recognize its greatness and they'll represent it in the playoffs.
Right. Yeah, I'm very much interested in, no matter how the eventual kind of, funding conversations go, and whether or not Block 1 contributes anything to the pie, or, the existing top 21 BPs agree to release RAM fees, or for inflation, I don't think that should be our long-term goal at all. Is to be dependent on external funding. I'd say as quickly as possible, we want to be basically managing an endowment, right? Which is what nonprofits do. But I think we can do it in a kind of a more innovative sort of for-profit way, frankly. Like I'd love to run a VC type fund that's going to
stand by till tomorrow. There's an announcement coming.
Right.
Is going to be just that. Yeah,
I know. It's something about some of the stuff that you guys are doing, but and there's going to be room for multiple people to do this too, right? But I'd love to be doing that kind of thing, which I think will be the perpetuating EOS as a currency by sticking to, EOS.io projects, right? Because we know that's been such an issue, and do we want to wait and sit around for B1 to follow through, or are we going to take matters in our own hands? I'm the type of person who just wants to take matters into my own hands. Like, screw them. I want us to have $100 billion worth of equity in startups by the time we're done, so that putting $1 billion into EOS companies sounds like a joke to us. It's like, that's what we do every, month. We deploy $1 billion a month.
Yeah, that's just
that'd be something else.
we had any other funding strategies, that we had something that Eden could kind of self-producing rather than relying upon the donations from the block producers or B1 or anywhere. Florida Beach, I know Dan is putting in donations as well, but if we can figure out how to be self-funding, I think that would be a way better business model. Or structure anyways. It has to be reliant upon outside sources. There's plenty of ways you could sort of come up with that would put funds directly into the pot, if you will, so that we could start growing somehow initially internally without relying upon donations.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not sure exactly how that would be, or a different project instead of everybody's individual project in empathy right now. And if I think
you're going Matrix on us, Todd. You went Matrix mode. We're getting some of it.
Yeah, I think you're a little out of signal.
Now.
That's better.
Yeah, but you're definitely. I think you're on the right. Totally. On the
Yeah,
right
we're
path.
all saying the same thing.
I think a lot of us are. How do we make Eden self-funding? Because it's like one of the principles in Dan's book, right? In More Equal Animals is independence, and so Eden needs to become an independent organization. And there's a lot of options. I think I've heard. Like the idea that I really liked was governance as a service, where Eden can become a layer of governance, and that could generate revenue. If we have an insurance product, that can generate revenue. If we are an arbiter on DApps, well, they could pay us a fee for when that arbitration is required for the MSIG. The project that's going to be announced tomorrow that I'm working with is meant to help launch projects on EOS, but leveraging Eden and leveraging the governance structure in Eden. So then projects, as they get filtered through Eden and through our platform as well, will then kick back to Eden. And actually, it could be some staking mechanisms involved in token issuances where Eden can actually become a holder of tokens of EOS projects. And then there's staking rewards that can be continual dividends that can slowly leak back into Eden to help build that pie. The more projects that come through, the more staking rewards and the greater that sort of token issuance from these projects that Eden can aggregate over time. So there's a huge opportunity there. And you'll know more. Well, can't say too much. The announcement's officially coming tomorrow, but it's pretty exciting when I heard about that. So I think there's a lot of opportunities here where we're going to be able to create over time. We get through the humps. We prove Eden works. We get through another trial election, maybe even one more. Maybe we do the real one soon too. But I think as we get this ball rolling, then we get some seed funding from either BPs with inflation or Block One or ramp fees. Use that for a little while, but then use that to help kick us off even further, so then we can self-fund. Like it's baby steps, right? And that's the end goal.
What about the so projects that we funded and they become very successful? Could they maybe put some of that or pay back some of that funding?
Well, that's what I mean, Mel. Yeah, we're going to need to. So the tricky part is the compliance element, and it's the kind of boring part that most people don't like, or some people will say you don't even have to worry about it, but you do. Especially now in the current climate, it's only getting worse. But we're just going to have to set up the right type of structures for that. But there's some very innovative stuff that's available. Some stuff that's come out of Wyoming recently where they've recognized DAX, for example. We could potentially use a structure like that so that we can do it all above board. But at the end of the day, what we don't want to create for everybody is like every individual who gets elected essentially has to run as if they're their own business, because that would be the issue. If we don't create a superstructure that we can all work and operate in temporarily as representatives, right? Because it's about the turnover. There's going to be a natural turnover of people into positions, and we don't want to be sending funds to like your EOS wallet, because as soon as we do that, you have to declare that. I know you have to in Europe, and I know you have to in the United States. You're going to have to declare that on your taxes. Well, then you're going to go give it to an app, say, right? You want to fund that app because you say, well, it's going to be great. They're going to give tokens back to Eden. Well, they are, but not to you. So you're going to pay the taxes on the 50 grand you sent to that app as income, You can't write it off because you're not a business and you're not a VC fund and you're none of the above. So you're screwed. You'll be stuck holding the bag in that scenario. Even if they give tokens back to Eden, that won't have any bearing on you. You'll be hung out to dry. So these are things behind the scenes that we're setting up as well, so that everybody can be protected, but also limit your liability too, because, you know, we don't want to also run into a situation where everybody has to have a law firm, right? Because you do something and a deal goes south, or somebody bitches about it and, you know, has a problem. We need a way to make sure those things are channeled internally into a single organization that we all kind of utilize, I guess, collectively.
Yeah, definitely. It's got to happen.
Because otherwise, no, you're right. You can't give money to you. There is a way where you could technically do it, and the money, say, goes into the Eden organization's wallet, right? It never comes to yours. That's just, there's 10,000 EOS to make it simple. And that's the election budget. And you're going to be in charge of 500 EOS. And with the multi-sig, with the other people involved, you then send 500 EOS to an app to fund them. You could do that, but then the app could never give us anything back. We have to have a structure for that. So we could donate fund, but that kind of sucks. Now, could we do it in good faith that later, if they take off, they just donate fund back? Yes, but we can't force it again without a structure. So I think we're all going to want to do better than that, because I think at the heart of this is we all know that EOS needs more apps. I think most of us are in agreement that we're pretty pissed off that the billion wasn't spent and that we're trying to do something about it.
Yeah,
but in return, we're going to want to get something for that, for the group, so we can keep doing it, really, more than anything.
Dom, so can we, let's say there's an application that needs funding, right? Can't we just negotiate with the team so that when they are writing the contract, they can give us from good faith, give us a piece of the pie? Let's say if it's 10% or 5%, that would be for Eden. So the contract is pre-written for us to have that token, right? Like how I would say Block One, right, got 100 million, which was given to them from the block producers, right? So maybe we can do what you are saying, which I think is a very great idea, in that the money goes into a wallet. Then we have a multi-sig to be able to spend the money, but the money is not in the individual's account. And then the applications that are, I would say the team that are building the applications that are coming to us as a group will now write the contract and make sure that the tokens are being allocated to Eden.
Yeah, they can, but that's what I'm saying. There still needs to be an Eden. There has to be an Eden org of some kind. We can't, just to clarify, at the beginning, there was some conversation among everyone that said, well, can't we just do this all with smart contracts and everything? And it's like, you can't. You just can't. You can't take money from somewhere. Someone has to become the custodian of those funds at some point. It's all on chain, so you can't hide it. You can't just say, oh, well, there's an Eden wallet that's everybody's but nobody's. It's like, well, then who are the multi-signature people? And whoever that is, the United States government goes, they're the custodians. Bam, done. You know, it doesn't matter. Once that money moves from one place to another, somebody has to basically own it. So of course we don't want to own it individually. We're going to want an Eden org to own it. Like you're saying, and you exactly, Randall, that's exactly what we can then do. I could say, or you could say, we want to fund Project X, but in return, we want Project X to come back to us with a basically a term sheet, right? What's the term sheet? If someone privately were going to give you $20,000, say, worth of EOS, what would you be giving them? Well, we expect the same in return, right? It's just like that. And that term sheet, though, then can absolutely be handled with Ricardians and smart contracts. And I'm sure that's exactly how we'll want to do it. But we're still going to need that central org somewhere, registered somewhere, that, like, you know, has a bank account and pays taxes annually, has a legal team.
Mhm.
But we can do that, I think, in a way that it's just, we only need one. And we all own it and all don't own it. Right? And that's the beauty of it.
So, not to, I'm catching up, but have you guys thought about people fundraising for Eden? I think I'm hearing people going to a point where there's incoming tokens, but to fill that gap, is that like, I'm not volunteering, I'm not a fundraiser,
I understand.
but I'm just saying, is that a desired thing that we want people that fundraise and stuff, or?
I think so, insofar as you can. I mean, let's put it this way.
I mean,
If anybody thought they could do so, like they could go to somebody who they think would either sympathize with this cause or benefit from it and has capital and be willing to donate, of course, that's going to be welcomed.
Yeah.
And I do know that that's definitely one of the things that the dev team right now is working on to kind of hopefully automate a little, where it's just an address that's a contract and anybody can just donate anonymously or otherwise, and there'll be basically a process for that on the website, just to make that simple and easy. But then, of course, Dan has been soliciting. I know Brock Pierce is chomping at the bit to do something. He's talked about several things, from events he's willing to organize that would act as almost like charity benefits. Brock's done a lot of that, and because of his stature, standing, and experience and network, he's kind of capable of doing that, right? Kind of like rich people know rich people typically, right? He knows people who are sympathetic to the work we're doing here. And so I'm sure he's eventually going to pull something like that off. So yes, I don't think it's ever going to be like a conscientious push per se. Like, hey, all Eden members, please look for donors, but more like there'll be a process there. If you think you can do it, great. But that could also be something that, for example, I live in Maryland, and in the US, we are the #1 state for donations because of the proximity to Washington, DC. The nonprofits in Maryland take in more money every year than any other state in the US. And there are people who that's their profession, right? Soliciting donations for nonprofits. Well, there could be somebody like that in our community who does that and might run saying, listen, I need $20,000 dollars worth of EOS to, put together the collateral and do the marketing I need to do in order to get in front of donors.
Yep.
But that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to fundraise for us. So, I think that's a possibility.
I see, Chris, for the proxy, I don't know if you've thought about that, but if B1 donates their voter staking rewards, or other BPs donating a higher staking reward to Eden, that's a little, a relationship that works both ways, without anybody losing. Everybody wins too. So that might be a possible setup there.
Yep. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. If we could somehow convince Block 1 to support Eden with their vote, however we do it, that would be a big win. Yeah.
And free for them, so it's.
Yeah, I think it comes down to proving that we're reliable and we can be trusted. I think we and we're on the right path. I mean, I haven't fucked up yet, being the
right
toast. So, like Dom said earlier, if I'd have turned out to be a total douche and walked away, that would have been a big kick in the nuts on this whole plan. It still would have happened. I mean, there's enough people who are behind it, and the
we had things in place to have it killed, dude.
It would have. Like,
you would have been wiped quick. That was already in front of the election. We're like, if someone, somewhat random, which you kind of were, but
totally
that was
random.
great though. But that was my favorite thing too, is that I had no idea who you were, but if it had been like John from Boyd, who I know was in the running, and that was fine. He's a great guy. But we all know him. It would have felt a little bit like, we ran this thing and then we just gave our buddy 1,000 EOS. Like, That doesn't look great. And that's not who these people are. I've known a lot of these people for a while. I know a lot of you know a fair amount of the people who have been involved early on, but just still, it was great. It worked out. Yeah, it worked out really well.
The next one, that'll be
growing the membership, though. That's everything right now. I can't tell you guys how that's what we can all do right now.
Thanks, Seth. Seth
You know.
just said that's why he voted for me. He had a good feeling I'd be a good representative.
See?
See, that gut feeling, sometimes you just got to trust your gut, unless you're dealing with a psychopath, in which case, don't trust your gut. How do you know?
Because they have a knife in it. Oh. No, but to sound like a shill, start inviting people, folks. I know you've all got to have at least 4 or 5 people that you know that want to be a part of this. And, you know, maybe it's not someone who's involved in EOS yet. Well, do the work, right? No better time than the present to finally drag them through the opening a wallet, you know, giving them the crypto 101. But like, seriously, we can't expect the block producers, Block One, anybody to want to throw funding so that we can accomplish the things we want to accomplish if there's only a couple hundred of us. It's just not going to happen. So we've got to get to 1,000 ASAP, and the sooner the better, because that's the number that has been recognized, I'll say, so far from what I've heard on all sides, that like, okay, that's when we need to start taking this thing seriously. These guys can get 1,000 people to do this. And this is where our process helps us, because that's a big thing to someone on the outside looking in, like, wow, they got 1,000 people to like go through this whole thing. And there's this whole induction process. They need to do this. They need to donate 10 EOS. So they had to put some skin in the game, you know, and they're on video, and like, it's a big deal. Where else has this happened in crypto? Nowhere. Nowhere is the answer. Nowhere. I mean, have people put themselves out there the way we're all putting ourselves out there, and been willing to go through such an elaborate kind of procedure in order to produce to create and develop a community. So that's our best asset right now is numbers, but doing it in a way that doesn't compromise the process, right? Because that doesn't help us either.
Well, I know Patrick's doing some great videos. Hey, Mr. Schmidt, you're putting some stuff out there.
You speak to me?
Yeah, you're helping to spread the word, so you're doing your part.
Hello, guys. Yeah, I don't know what to say today. I am quite in listen mode. How did you say that? I feel the moment. That's epic. Yeah, Dominic, you say a lot of things fantastic. Chris, Randall, Elias, Rick, Joshua, you are in listen mode. It's okay. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. We are living a fantastic time. You said something, Chris. I have not answered because that was maybe not the moment. But you said we have to be okay. If we are in Eden, we have to acting correctly. At least on Eden, I would say not at least. I would say if you are in Eden, it's because you are already in EOS. It's Eden on EOS. So if you are believing in EOS, it's why you go in Eden. So that could not be separate. That's the continuation. But maybe you will say that. I don't want to.
No, I agree with that. Yes. No. If I said it the other way around, I didn't mean it that way.
And something else. Sometimes we are thinking a lot. We want all that is already predetermined, or maybe in smart contract. We want to avoid some risk. That's good, okay, but maybe we are first to letting go, going in this, because I think the people that are here now today, they want to, if they have applied or if they want to apply, it's because they want to be part of something greater than ourselves. And we have to letting go a little bit. And when we will go more and more, we will see what we can change or improve. That has to be very flexible. The road is known, but the objective is known. Maybe there are many objectives, and we can adjust. We can adjust. If Eden is already all, let's say, constrained, no one will on board, I think, or will see that a little bit constrained. At a time, yeah, we have to testify what you want to do. At the moment, you have to testify you want to do. You have to do your due diligence, as you said, about money, if it is a lot of money. But this is not only money. It's about what you want to do, and collaborative things is very important. You can do your own project with a lot of value for your project, and if you can collaborate, we are in a collaborative ecosystem indeed. So if you have a solution and your solution can connect with another solution, I think you have something very nice for the community. And about the liability, myself, I have a LLC, liable company, LLC, Nova Crypto LLC, or I say LTD, that's fast the same. But I don't want to do things for Eden for my startup. I do that for myself, for the community. I separate the things, but if at the end Eden is responsible with the funds, that's nice. And if we can give some funds that we have received, if we receive some funds for other projects into the community that we love, like EOS Marketplace, for example, in Venezuela, or someone that want to do something with EOS Marketplace, that's a good cause. That's a good cause. And I think the money can be split between the funds, the matching fund, if we can name like this, of Eden, matching fund, like in Pomelo. I don't want to compare, but about the matching fund, put some money in the matching fund of Eden to let's say, self-fund Eden by us, and don't be too much dependent on the others, because we have to be not depending on other too much organization. Otherwise, we will lose our independency, and there will be maybe some single point of failure. Actually, with EOS, we have some point of failure. So if we are not depending too much on Block.one or Google Cloud Platform, all these things, that could be good. My 2 cents.
Well said. What do you think, Joshua? You were in listen mode. I don't know, you got some good ideas.
Yeah, I wanted to, a lot of great comments and discussion here. I wanted to go back to, well, first I want to say, Dominic, I agree that like getting people involved and participating is the immediate priority. But what you were talking about with the legal structure, I thought was also really important. Aside from the research you've been doing with the Wyoming DAO, is there like a serious discussion going on about the legal formation?
Yeah.
The supercluster and all that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Dan's had attorneys, we're talking about helping him, guiding any of these decisions in the background. And yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, like there are people who really want EOS to become adopted as a top, 3 currency, maybe in the next few years. And that's very doable if we, if random breezes of individuals become organized into a hurricane force for that to happen. And there's maybe some very strategic ways that it can happen, just given enough time and focus. But in the meantime, just a couple of weeks ago, I watched a little video from the World Economic Forum about a new global tax agenda. And it looks like the G whatever groups are signing off on it, and might be starting off at like 15%. And previously, I really liked how we had all these different jurisdictions, and I guess maybe they'll still be managed jurisdictionally to some degree, but it looks like it might be getting more difficult to escape the jurisdiction situation, which is all the more reason to have a currency that's outside of some kind of a jurisdiction. But even for legal formation, like what can we really do, we're not quite in a position to defend and protect ourselves against, you know, the military that controls the internet at this point. So we're sort of, unfortunately, at the mercy until things progress more. But it's definitely something to think about and be aware of. And I guess the whole reason I bring it up is I would just like us to avoid creating tax implications, you know, for anything that Eden is doing, and be able to advise and maybe support a structure. Like when it comes to jurisdictions, and I guess a lot of it has to do with land, you know, when you have something like the Rome, London, Washington, DC, you know, triangle that's going on, or like the City of London and the Vatican and all that kind of stuff, there, you know, there is something really like layers and layers to how our law and money systems are set up. And we do need to unwind that, but at the same time, we need to create our own version. And maybe having the BPs in strategic locations could create us some type of a land-based, you know, sovereign jurisdiction of some kind, where we kind of set the rules, and then Eden or whatever, for example, the super structure could then grant that jurisdiction to other Eden groups. So like one society like the Vatican granting that to, you know, that sovereignty to other Eden groups or something along those lines. It's a long road we got to travel. And another thing, I don't know how it's going to play out. It'll probably be linked in with the global tax, but we might have the possibility to put our jurisdiction in space with Starlink coming up pretty soon. That's a real possibility.
Yeah, and there's the
or
Sovereign
BIOS,
Sky
BIOS,
guys.
huh?
BIOS, exactly. Sovereign Sky.
BIOS from Stan Larime.
Dan's
because I
dad.
That
think
stuff
Stan-
is it's a lot harder to do than it sounds, though, guys. I mean, you're going to be putting somebody at risk, and at this point, it would be Dan. So he has a tremendous amount to lose.
Dan or Stan for
Dan.
the BIOS one?
No, I mean
Stan
Dan
Larime for
being
BIOS.
involved with Eden has the biggest risk.
Oh, I see.
And with all this money coming in, someone has to account for it. You can't just place your jurisdiction in space and shit and expect to get away with anything. Sorry, it just doesn't work like that. They're cracking
are not
down
yet,
so much right now. No, you have to transcend it. I mean, you're going to need to do it. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You're going to end up paying somewhere. I don't know. I don't know how you're going to get around it, to be honest. You're going to have to pay somewhere. I think it's going to be more about limiting than trying to totally outrun it. It's just so much energy in that.
Well, I mean, onshore is the new offshore. So if you're practicing flag theory, you know, you can set up a business entity in Georgia and have a bank account in Singapore, and, you know, where there's favorable jurisdictions for all these different things. And it's not really that complicated to do. That's a low tax approach. You're still in compliance, but I don't know how long that kind of stuff is going to work if there's a global tax agenda.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. But you know, you start with the low tax, and then, you know, you have to look at this other stuff. But obviously, they're cracking down on the amount of corporate money that's currently in the system, that's taking advantage of all this stuff. Right. It's the, you know, $60 billion that Apple hasn't paid taxes on. I mean, that's what they're really trying to go after.
so, you know, when we're looking at all these, so when, you know, with compliance, I'm not a lawyer, but it seems like to me, even though EOS was really, you know, dumped upon by the other crypto, seems like EOS is the most compliant because it really is the most decentralized. So I mean, I would put that as a strength versus running away from or trying to dodge, if we're talking about EOS, and you don't know EOS, you know, to placing that out there with the other cryptos, as, you know, as a DAC, it's just more decentralized. It doesn't need to run away like some of the other ones, you know, blatantly breaking SEC rules.
Well, right. Yeah. You're talking, no, Randall, that's a separate discussion as to whether or not EOS as a token is a security or utility token. We're talking more about how do you manage the transfer of value, because the new regulations have basically used that as the standard and to some degree overstepped tremendously, which is difficult. But effectively, when an EOS token moves from point A to point B, that's a transfer of value because there are secondary markets specifically. If we were doing this from the beginning and there had never been a token sale and then EOS didn't trade anywhere and all you had was an OTC trading market, which is peer-to-peer, then you'd be fine. You could do anything. But that's a problem. Would people be willing to take those tokens as payment if they can't convert them to other types of money? Because for now, you can't do your startup if somebody donates you a token that you can't turn into dollars or euros or BTC or whatever, right? So
that's where it'd be better to keep it more internal, wouldn't it? If we have, like you were saying earlier, have rather than give it to third-party contractors and etc., to keep it internal with Eden and EOS developers and teams. So we could potentially get away with that taxation issue. I don't know. That's something possible or not. I just think if we keep it sort of more internalized, then that helps.
It depends, Mel. I mean, again, the problem there is just going to be like, look on this call, how many different countries are people in already? So I'm in the United States. Chris is in Canada. I know that. You're in England, correct?
We're at that.
I think Patrick's in France.
No,
well, right.
No, France, Switzerland.
Oh, Switzerland.
And tomorrow is Joe Biden and Putin in Geneva by us. So good luck. I will let you inform by the decision. They are here for 2 days in Geneva speaking.
Right.
So they will cover in television a lot about the discussion between Switzerland and US, because US see the Switzerland as the island of tax evasion. So they will speak, because a lot of companies are coming in Switzerland not for nothing. They are coming in the crypto valley in Switzerland. I am no shame to say that. I have the balls. There are a lot of companies that come in Switzerland just for one thing, about taxes and crypto. And Ethereum is in Crypto Valley, Cardano, Charles Hoskinson in Crypto Valley, and Bitcoin also Foundation in Crypto Valley. So you will never see EOS Foundation there for obvious reason. So now the question that Elias was raising, or Joshua was raising, it's very important. The time when we will go more and more with Eden, and we will stabilize a little bit the architecture, we will have to ask who is the ownership of Eden? Who is the ownership of that? Because we are in this. We want to do the good. I think myself, I want to do the good. We want all to do the good, but we can have the better expectation. But at a point, the legal structure of Eden, forget about block one, forget about the other. If they come one day, I am very happy, but they will see the value. But first we do that together. We are in this together, and when we are at a point enough good shaped, we have to think not so late, but early, but not so early also, at who is the what is the ownership of all that? Who is the, I don't know if I expressed correctly.
Yeah,
but,
no, I think I understand.
I am not a jurist. I am not legal, but generally speaking, in Switzerland or in France or in Africa or at any part of the world, we want to contribute in that. So the less friction we have about the juridic, more is better. But I have no answer. I just
I'm looking at the DAX within DAX within DAX within DAX model, right?
So
Turtle
don't
shells
go in
all the way
Switzerland.
down.
Don't go in Switzerland.
No.
That
And
would
that's
be,
where
that
in
would
the
be
early research,
dangerous.
what the state of Wyoming has done is the most beautiful part, which is that their DAC addresses the issue of fiduciary responsibility.
Okay.
None of us as members of the DAC would actually have fiduciary responsibility, which is how it needs to be because it isn't yours, right?
Yeah, clear,
It's
clear.
never going to be set up where like Dominic or Dan for that matter can just say, I'm taking all this money and I'm going, right? There's going to be multi-sigs, there's going to be smart contracts, there's going to be contracts, there's going to be
Exactly.
Ricardian contracts, right? So,
Yeah.
and Dan doesn't own it because Dan will be able to be elected out, as will all of us, right? Or any of us who ever get into any position of, say, decision-making
Yes.
authority, right?
Yes.
And because it's transitory, it acts far more like the Red Cross say. Who owns the Red Cross? No one. The Red Cross owns the Red Cross, right? The Red Cross is a citizen. You know, that's why they came up with some of this stuff as corporations or citizens and all that. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But namely, we need Eden to be Eden. Eden is the entity, and the entity answers kind of to itself and to the government. And at any given time, the people who are authorized make those decisions as they go, right? Like to do what, to how to claim the taxes and who to hire to do our taxes. And, you know, but the reality is the organization will be the ultimate place of liability. And the risk will be if anybody in a position of authority mismanages, the organization itself can be destroyed, right? That'll be like the downside risk. But as a member of it, you won't be liable, right? They're not going to be able to go after your house. And that's ultimately what I think we really need more than anything, right? Is that individual protection that we're all trying to organize as a group, but none of us is in a position where we have enough control that we should ever also be considered responsible, right? If something nefarious happens. And then what also happens in that DAC scenario under Wyoming law is if I am elected to a position of authority in the DAC and I do something illegal, I'm just prosecuted as an individual, right? And even the organization could take action against me as basically a rogue agent, right, within our DAC. And that's how it's handled. So sure, you're liable for your activity, but you're liable for your activities as an individual.
Voilà.
And so in two directions, you don't have the corporate shell, right? If it makes sense. You don't need the corporate shell to protect your own assets because that's never a question because you don't have fiduciary responsibility. But at the same time, if you act like an idiot, the corporation's not going to be tried. You are.
No,
right?
we have no idiot in Eden.
Yeah.
I think you will be a total bastard. Sorry, if you are cheating the system.
Right.
If you are going in Eden with the intention to go with your funds, you are a piece. Sorry.
Yeah.
You will be totally crazy to do that. That's make no sense.
No.
But we never know. We have a psychopath maybe.
But if it happens, it's like as custodians of Eden at any given time, if you're elected to a decision-making position, you defend Eden, you know, against the other bad actor. And that's what that, you know, but it's like Eden will just be its own thing, you know, in a way. Yeah. I mean, I think it was almost fate the way that came into existence because it's actually just became available. I think the first ones formed the 1st of June. And no major jurisdiction has acknowledged this type of organization. And in the United States, for those of you who are non-US people, Wyoming's not the rest of the US. And I say that in the best possible way.
Yeah.
They're not assholes. They're not greedy. It's one of the most beautiful places you'll ever visit. It's got Yellowstone National Park in it, which is literally like going into dinosaur age. It's gorgeous. It's wide open, and they're freedom-loving people. They're the anarchists of our country. They don't want anybody in their shit.
They are beautiful people in each country. They are beautiful people in each country. There's nothing about the country, but the government.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, as a state within the U.S., they're very unique.
Yeah.
They're not like the rest of the U.S. And like I said, I mean that in the best way. I think
Yeah.
they embody a lot of the freedoms that
Mhm.
the United States talks about,
Mhm.
but they actually do something about.
Yeah.
Right? You know, they expect you to be responsible for your own stuff, but at the
Okay.
same time, they give you the freedom to do it, if that makes sense. And they're the first ones offering crypto banking licenses right now. That's where Kraken's getting theirs, Coinbase is getting theirs.
Mhm.
So, you know, it's just, I think that looks like the way to go so far. But I mean, for certainly, I'm not going to be making that decision. I'm just trying to do
Yeah,
some
there are many
research.
possibilities. Yeah, many possibilities. Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
we do need something, because without it,
Yeah.
it's going to be hard to operate. It just is. All the ideas we were talking about earlier become increasingly difficult, like investing in EOS projects and potentially getting some tokens or equity in
Mhm.
return. That's out the door. Forget it. Can't do it. If you don't have an org, you just can't. They can't, because it won't be compliant for them to do it. You
Mhm.
know, so we'd be putting kind of everybody at risk. And I don't think we need to worry too much about it now. I think we do the best scenario that's going to reduce
We are in the good path. We are in
headaches
the good
and
path.
taxes and everything, like we're all saying. And then, you know, let's expand from there, and let's get strong enough to build our own,
Exact.
you know, alternatives. And hey, maybe at some point we'll all decide to go revolutionary, and that could be a decision we make. And we all say,
Mhm.
pardon me, but fuck you. Like, we're big enough, we're bold enough, and we all vote collectively to say, okay, come after us. Our jurisdiction is Saturn's moon, you know, Io. That's Jupiter. You know, Jupiter's moon, Io. That's our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
We sent a probe last year. Okay.
Good name.
Here's the stuff. We sent it, and we put our private keys right there. Watch the video, and now, okay, go find it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, but you know,
Yeah, yeah.
hopefully we have that decision to make someday. That'll be great.
Do you think
Nice.
sort of starting out too small or too big is I mean, what's the best scenario here? I mean, obviously, if we go too large too quickly in many projects and they fail, then the whole thing potentially fails. If we started smaller and put more emphasis on projects that are more likely to succeed, and then go bigger as we grow, and then obviously get more confidence that it was going to work. Do you think that might be a better option?
Well, I think, Mel, it's kind of for all of us to decide ultimately, and that's part of what we'll all be voting for eventually when it comes to deciding who we're going to put in these decision-making positions. I mean, that's just kind of what I call them. It's like, because they're not quite authority positions per se, although they'll have some, but mostly they're the ones that are going to make the decisions on how to spend our collective resources in that given time period. We're already doing that a little bit by the trial elections, right? Because the first one was 1,000 and it was Chris, and that seems to have worked out, and they gave that to EOS Power Up, and that was a win so far, my understanding. Then this next one is going to be 2,000 EOS to the final elected winner, 100 to each of the people who make it to the second to the last round, which is being called the board, 10 EOS to everybody in the first round, plus however many EOS we get from the one EOS donation, you know, distributed equivalently, right? So if there's 300 of us plus 300 EOS, so there you go though, right? That's more. I mean, we could potentially be talking about somewhere on the order of 3,000 or so EOS being distributed in this one, which will all hopefully go towards things. So that's the smaller approach. Whether or not we'll have another test election or not, I mean, I think it's hard to say. I think it's all going to depend on the growth. Again, the quicker we get to 1,000 people, the better. From everything I've heard, and for any way in which we're going to get bigger funding, that's where the conversation starts, essentially. Before then, it's all kind of premature, really. Because if we never get to that point, then it's going to be different. Not going to be that we're dead necessarily, just going to be, I think we're all going to collectively have to think about it a little differently.
I agree.
Sorry, I was just about to say the first initial run of it I can see a lot of companies looking in on see how it works and how it runs. And if it is successful, I think the second time you're going to get a lot more
Agreed.
potential.
I think so too.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Agreed, Mel. I mean, that's going to be my approach. I mean, I'd be voting for people that I think are going to get us quick wins.
Yeah.
And anything I'm thinking out in the early stages is going to be about where do I think the quick wins are? Because yeah, I agree. We're going to need to show that this thing is valuable to the thing it's representing, which is EOS, right?
We can't let it fail. That is paramount. We can't let this fail.
If we go all moonshots in the first round, and even if it's $100,000 and we distribute it badly with no result, we're pretty dead in the water.
Yeah,
I know.
exactly.
I agree. What were you going to say, Patrick?
Go ahead.
No, I agree too. I agree too.
You know, so I definitely think collectively, I hope we'll all be looking for the kind of blatant, underfunded, low-hanging fruit. The stuff that we all know is wrong, which is part of why people are even doing this in the first place. It's kind of going, guys, we know these things are broken by just using EOS and being involved in EOS or building projects in EOS. Why isn't somebody addressing them? Well, hopefully we'll address them. And demonstrate the wisdom of the crowd, so to speak, and the kind of the readiness and willingness of all of us to do some good and to make things better, and then that just grows and builds, and you know, hopefully becomes more and more attractive.
Yeah, totally agree. Right, guys, I'm going to go now. It's nearly 1 o'clock in the morning here, so I'm going to go.
Yeah.
Bed. But no, it's really good to listen and hear and speak to you all. I'll speak to you again soon.
Absolutely, Mel. Thanks for joining in.
Yes, thank you. Bye.
And I think we're closing up anyway here in a few minutes. Anybody else with anything?
What said Block One about Eden?
So far,
they're going to give us $1 billion.
Yeah, I read as all here. I think you read some lines about that. Brendan Blummer was stating that he's sustaining Dan Larimer in his approach with Eden. Okay, that was a journalistic sentence, but I would say what you think about Block One would let's say support Eden in a way. I don't think about money only. I think on the principle.
Right.
Sorry to say, I don't want to be misaligned, but from one side, I agree that we need to have, we speak only when you say we will speak when we will have money. At this point, we will speak.'t true, but also not true. Sorry. It's clear that we need money, but sorry. But
we also need them to show their support in other ways, not just money, right?
We need money for sure, but from who and with which intention? Because money is when you have money, when you have enough money, you can put your money in any bags. But if it is only to put money in a bag and not be in a way aligned with what we are doing, sorry, that's a little bit. I will say hypocrisy. So I prefer to be. Yeah, that's my opinion. Sorry.
I don't know why you're apologizing. No, it's fine.
No, I know we need money. It's clear. We want to do something great. We need money for sure. But if each member is funding Eden with the project that he will do, at a point we will be self-sustainable, but maybe not at the beginning. For this reason, as you said, maybe we need support from the BPs, we need support from Block One. So I will say I prefer to have I don't like to make choice, but if we have the support of the BPs, it's already something good. Because Block One, they are doing their stuff with the EOS.io software and Google Cloud Platform, and us, we are doing Eden. Dan is no more with Block.one, and the EOS.io software has to be supporting Eden and EOS Mainnet directly, because EOS Mainnet, we are the 14th of June, that's belong to us. When EOS was started, that's belong to the community. So I don't know if to let a block one to be with Eden with the monetary things. It's a good point. I don't know. I have just a little doubt maybe that could be. But
no, it's fine. It's just different. It's just different stuff. I mean, I've just heard of different conversations, some directly from Dan, some from other people and sources. I know that there's been a dialogue and there's an ongoing dialogue, but these early decisions are primarily going to be made by Dan, really. So
Dan is with us. It's already good.
He feels obviously or felt initially that it was a good positive path, but I do know that something he said consistently was basically, if it comes with any strings, I'm going to say no. I mean, Dan is very committed to that. He's not going to take money that's basically, it's going to have to be a donation, period. It's just going to have to be that. There can't be any terms. You either draw. That's why he's trying to set it up almost so that they can do it in a sense anonymously or randomly. So there's just a contract and a website and an EOS address, and it says, hey, donate to Eden here. And if they decide to drop, 100,000 EOS in that pie, great. If they don't, they don't. I think he's trying to create that. So that's probably the best case scenario, because I don't think anybody here wants to be under Block One's thumb, of course, because that's very anti what we're trying to do. But I don't want to be exclusive either. And I'm very much someone, at least
beggars can't be choosers, as they say, right?
Well, no, I don't look that way. I'm fine begging. I'm scrappy son of a bitch. But I just mean, like, I try to give people the opportunity at redemption, always.
Oh yeah.
I'm always about that opportunity. Sometimes a sucker for it. I've been burned personally, professionally, but I'd rather believe in the ability or open up the possibility for people to redeem themselves than to think the other way, which is that redemption's impossible, and close my mind to it. So that's how I'm seeing it. Like, maybe Block One will come to their senses a little, see this as their opportunity at redemption, toss some money at it, and say, best wishes.
Yeah. Well, Kevin Rose is keeping tabs. Like he messaged in the Everything EOS channel after I posted the link for this, and he asked, what are the next milestones for Eden on EOS? And I said the next big election or mock election is July 17th at noon.
Oh yeah.
You should participate, Kevin. I mean, it's open to anybody.
No, I'm keeping him informed. I talk to Kevin all the time. I've known him for a while.
Maybe he was checking my knowledge to see if I knew what I was talking about. But anyway, he asked. That's what I told him. And that is the next big event. We're doing these for the next month to build community and to build awareness and then.
Oh yeah, Kevin makes sense. Yeah, Kevin makes totally sense because he's in the PBE team, public blockchain engagement for EOS. So that will make totally.
They're watching very
sense.
closely, and I think personally, all of the folks involved there are very pro what we're doing. But as always, I think Block One in and of itself is trying to decide what positions it can take without exposing itself, because they're always doing that. We've seen that. That's the MO. That's the culture. I think from the top, at least that's what the results externally have been. And it is what it is. They're ultra conservative when it comes to putting themselves in any position of liability.
Sure.
I know that's happening too internally with their legal team. Like, what happens if they donate to this? Does that mean anything? Does it not mean anything? They don't want to expose themselves. So, and they've got this whole bullish thing coming. And so, I'm sure they're pretty preoccupied with that as well. And we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
How many members are there now? Just so we're kind of.
We said, it's about 70. And then Chris has brought in some people himself that
it'll be
added. So it's around 80.
It'll be 80. Yeah, it'll be 80. There should be 80, including impending and actual. If I did what I need to do, we'd be at 80.
Right now it says 71 and 4, but he says
I did 5.
5 to add.
I've done
so.
5 today that I haven't submitted because it was right before this, so I haven't had a chance.
But that's it, guys. I mean, look, how many people are on this call? 12, 13 at one point, 10 now. It's like if each of us gets 5 people,
Elias wants to join. Rick,
or
we need you in
witnesses
here,
5
right?
people, even, because being a witness is just as important. But you know, that could be 50 more members in no time, right?
Elias, you are not yet a member, huh?
Not.
You have not your background with Eden, huh? That's the proof, yeah.
Yeah, they don't have the skin in the background.
I have some invite in case. So.
Oh, Rick put himself forward today too, a longtime Steemit community member, and told us a little bit about his story and his journey. So, you know, but that's what this is for, right? We can hopefully right now.
I have 7 invites still, so
good, perfect.
There is place.
Yeah.
And that's just it, right? We do these 2 more guys, like Rick, Elias, 2 more people, right? I mean, it's slow and steady. We're playing.
Well, the good thing is though, is it will get exponential, right? Organizations that are invite get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, you know, faster. The early stage is the slowest. You know?
And that gets easier when we have some bigger, like the fact that the prize went up for this next test. Like I think once people, right now it seems like almost like we're just like a little experiment game. No one's maybe necessarily taking us serious, but if there's the stakes go up, that will pique people's interest. And, you know, I think that'll add to the excitement and the messaging. We keep doing messaging, and I think there's more content creators who are going to get involved. I'm going to start a little channel doing EOS news, governance related. So that'll be a lot of EOS focus, short little videos, once a week type things. So, you know, more stuff like that gets out there. That'll only help spread the word.
Yeah. All right, folks.
Yep.
No, I am going to run. I'm going to go throw baseballs at my son and let him hit those. Still light out.
Good man.
All right, everyone. Are we good for an end, Chris? Or you're gonna hang out?
Yeah.
All right.
I gotta go.
All right,
through,
guys.
you guys
See
you guys all
everybody.
good?
Hopefully Thursday, right, is the podcast. If you can catch it live, it's at 4 p.m. Eastern. I forget the UTC time, 19 or 18? 1900 UTC?
19 is 4. No.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah. 5. I don't know. Whatever. UTC.
4.
It's annoying.
Let me also know, Rick, if you need a witness. I know you've been around for Roy's run around. Tell Debbie I said hi too, just by the way, and we missed her artwork, my wife and I.
Oh, there's Todd. Okay.
Well, Todd, if you know Rick, you need to invite Rick. That's what he's here for.
that's why
You're
I
a
didn't
member
know
now, dude. We got you in. You're on my balance sheet. So do good work, or I'm gonna have to boot you, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get you in, Rick, and we'll get something scheduled up really quick. Feel free to DM me.
Yeah, reach out to him, man. You do the induction, and we'll witness. We'll be there.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Yeah, Thursday podcast, Saturday webinar. Keep tuned. Have the election sign up form coming out too soon. So hopefully everyone sign up for that. All right. Bye, guys.
Everybody.
All right.
Bye.